Okay, so now that we've got walls placed into the project, I want to now show you a few ways where you can actually um, optimize the way that these walls will show up in your project. Very first thing, this is actually going to be considered a residential project for me. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to my view control bar, and I'm going to change this to 1/4 of an inch. It's a small project, so we can afford to do that. The second thing I'm going to do inside of my view control bar is I'm going to turn it to fine. When I do that, you'll now notice that you can see what the walls are actually made up of. Because, like I said, this is a light construction project, I actually want to change this wall into a wood stud. So here's what you do. You're going to click on the wall itself, and then you're going to come over here to your project or your properties box, and you're going to click on where it says edit type. Inside of edit type, obviously your type properties is going to pop up. As you can see all the different properties that go with a brick on metal stud wall. Like I said, I want to change this to a wood stud. Because I know that I probably will not use a metal stud anywhere in this project, I could probably go ahead and rename this and redo it. But one thing you'll hear me always say is duplicate. You just never know where you're going to need the original that you're pulling from, especially when it comes to walls, because walls are systems, and you technically cannot import a system into a project. You could actually only copy and paste it into a project. So I like to keep both. So I'm going to click on duplicate. And what I'm going to do inside the name box is I'm just going to do a couple things. I'm going to take the 2 away. And the reason I'm taking the 2 away is because that number usually just means that you have 2 of the very similar item in your project. I'm also going to take out the MTL and put in WD because this is a wood stud, not a brick stud. Or excuse me, not a metal stud. So I'm going to tell us okay. From inside of here, I'm going to then go to the structure, which is the first one. I'm going to click edit. In here, it now gives me the assembly of what the wall is made out of. One thing I like to always do is I like to turn on the preview so I can get an idea of, okay, how am I actually building this thing? So now I have my preview off on the left-hand side. I am next going to actually make the changes that need to be made. This is now a brick on wood stud. So first thing I'm going to do is change the metal stud to a wood stud. So I'm going to click inside where it says material. And I'm going to click the 3 dots here, that's the ellipsis. I'm going to click that box, and it's going to pop up for me the material library. And if this is your first time opening the material library when you're inside of a project, it may take a couple seconds for it to pull. Inside of here, I can do one of 2 things. I can either just search through and see if I can find it, or I could just type in wood, so I can kind of narrow down what all I'm using here, and then I can go right to what I want to use. In this particular case, it's going to be a softwood lumber. So after I click on softwood lumber, I'm going to tell it okay, and then I'm going to make sure that I switch it to an actual size for the wood itself. And in this case, this is a 6-inch stud or 2x6. So that means that this needs to go to 5.5. And I'm just going to type in 5.5 inches. And there it is. Obviously, you'll notice that the change happens over here as well. Not only that, because it's a brick on wood stud, the airspace doesn't need to be as big. So I'm going to actually change the airspace here, which is my number 2. And you see that it just says air, to 1 inch. And I hit the enter, and obviously we're getting smaller on our project. The rest of these are kind of up to you. You could change the plywood sheathing to 1/2 if you want. 3/4, of course, is stronger. And also chipboard, you can change it to either 5/8 or 1/2. Like I said, it's residential projects, so it's most likely going to be in 1/2 of an inch. But the idea is that you make sure these are all accurate because it does give you the correct total thickness. So now I'm going to tell us okay. And now that I've said okay, it's just giving me some of the basics here that are associated with this new thickness of a wall. You'll notice that the analytical properties did change to match what we used in our project, in our wall. I'm going to tell this okay, and it now has changed, and obviously you can see the difference between these 2. If by chance, I'm just going to show you something real quick. When you're going to place your walls in and you accidentally go the wrong way, you end up with brick on the interior of your project. All you have to do, and I actually just did it, is click on the wall that's going the wrong way, click the double arrows here, that'll change the orientation, and everything gets back to where it needs to be. I need to change these to match this. All I got to do, this is one way of doing this, is I'm going to put my mouse over this one. I'm going to hit the tab key, and it's going to grab all of them. So now I'm going to click. Now they're all selected. You'll notice here it says multiple type select. That's because I changed this one down here to a different type. Just going to click the drop down here, because brick on wood stud was one of the last things that I modified or created. I'm just going to click it, and it's now changed all of those to match. If you did place something in here based off of specific dimensions, just kind of keep that in mind that you may have to go back and fix those because you've gone from one thickness of a wall to another thickness of a wall. But it is easy to do. And that's it. That's how you can modify your walls so that you can see what they're made out of. Stay tuned for the next part.